that's not anything. Ugh. Good morning, everybody. Whew. I already hear this countdown going. It is a somewhat beautiful sunrise outside right now. I say somewhat beautiful because I can't really see outside. The blinds are in the way. So I'm just going to assume that it's okay. It's mediocre. But it's what's starting off this group as another long day of casting. I will once again be doing the first half of the cast, and Rifkin will be doing the second. Rough estimates is, again, about a 12-hour cast. So, buckle in. It's gonna be great. Oh boy. It's a best of 5 throughout the entire day. Every single match, every single group. And this is ZvZ. In the bottom left is the blue Zerg. It is Zanster. And the top right is the red Zerg. It is Bly. So, yeah, that's the rough estimate of what's happening here. Of course, Bly going for early pool, alright, makes sense. Best of 5s in a group stage format can take a while, so that's why I expect to go on. It's just about as long as yesterday, but it could be a little bit shorter. I mean, I'm, of course, hoping it's a little bit shorter. But at the very least, I'm hoping that there's less delays. Not that yesterday was super bad. I think there's been worse delays and you know, hiccups and stuff like that. But it did have a couple of, you know, lag outs and waiting for people to show up. And Zanster just barely made it in time. And then they luckily did vetoes really quickly. So that's why we were able to start relatively close to the start time. It's pretty close. It's alright. As we split up the cast, I actually have a whatchamacallit, oh gosh, portrait code. There we go. A BaseTradeTV portrait code to give away to the bit boss, whoever's the bit boss at the end of my streaming session. So I mean, maybe from 6 hours from now. So keep that in mind. Cool, neat little portrait code that no one else can really get. Always cool to have. But Bly, yes, he went for the Speedling attack, so he can get a hatchery after this. He's not building banelings. He doesn't have to mine gas anymore to take away from his mineral income. So really just waiting to get that ultra surprise on Zanster. Hope that he's playing really greedy. And Zanster, I mean, he kind of is. He has a third base on the way. His 300 more minerals, not going into defenses, but it looks like he's seen... well, first of all, he sees a lack of a hatchery, but that's not too suspicious in and of itself. But against Bly, I think maybe the default spine crawler, almost like the default zealot, you take the 25 mineral loss if nothing is happening. But if something is happening, then you're going to be really glad you invested 100 minerals plus 50, I guess, for the drone. So something is happening. So the Overlord sees that, sees Speedlings running across the map. Obviously, they were delayed a little bit. So he might figure from that it is just the Speedlings and not Banelings, but it's, I guess he can't confirm quite yet. Speedlings just run past, that is their nature, just kind of running past stuff. Get a little choked in, not such a bad position, but Zanster needs help. His drones can't do it alone. Third base was canceled to make more room for queens and spine crawlers and lings. But Bly has taken this bit of a, well, pace lead. He's not in a lead yet, but a pace lead. He has momentum, and he has a bit of a, almost like a contain going on, and does just drone up immediately, so it kind of gets back to even. 2 bases, 18 drones to 18 drones. Queen goes down here. The one that had a transfuse, I think. This one just barely not able to. And the Speedlings are going to continue running around. I mean, they ended up with pretty even drone counts, but Zanster is left with a bit more of the defenses for the future, and that might help out later on, and might even still have him in the better position. But unfortunately, this army supply lead that Zanster has, while it is sometimes worth noting, is not really in this game since it is just regular slow lings because he went for a gasless opener. But once he deals with these lings, he can get his third base back. Bly's continuing to looking for the drone that's going to be placed there. He knows there wasn't gas taken for so long, so he's really not worried about, there being speedlings or banelings. And, yeah, he'll probably go for the Roach Warren and the Evolution Chamber wall at the front. I mean, by then, Bly has caught up and then some, right? He already did catch up and even, like, getting a little bit ahead on the third base and the drones. No cancel here, it looks like, even though those just slow lings. And that's kind of that for Bly's opener. I mean, it really wasn't that bad. If Zanster had done something different, maybe like only slightly delayed on the aggression, so he also got speed, and then he was also adding on banelings right now, Bly could be in for like a serious counterattack, and he might regret over-droning, which is not something you usually hear said about Bly, but that's really not the case, and he absolutely knows that, so he can take full advantage of it. I try to, anyways. Creep spread even going down in the main base, like a odd amount of emphasis on this because the speedlings are constantly running around. Usually I think one creep tumor, and then if it dies, but he's planted down 2. One died earlier. Roach Warren finally on the way. Evolution Chamber, again, those spine claws that I was talking about have been moved to the front, and that's some pretty nice defense for later. Like if Bly were to go for a roach attack, or even if he goes for speedling run-bys later in the game, 3 spine crawlers, because I assume they'll move the one in the main eventually, will help, for sure. Finally, the last lings are cleaned up. Well, I mean, okay, I'm going to assume they're going to get cleaned up. There's no bailing nest, so they can't really do anything more anyways. Roach Warren and Bly also on the way, so no trick, like, fast lair stuff that we saw yesterday from him. Tricky, not really trick, a little tricky. And he will be going into roaches as well. A little bit later to the +1 and the roach speed. Well, it is going to be mutas anyway. I mean, probably back into the Roach Warren, but this is something that Zanster did not see. All he saw was a similar timed lair. If he ducked in right here, he'd see a Roach Warren moving and grooving, so he might just assume that it is nothing but roaches, but it isn't. It's going to be a handful of mutas. And if Zanster tries to attack as the mutas pop out, then that's always going to be that timing that is talked about to death. When it comes to ZvZ, basically the mutas, if they pop out just soon enough, then that's a lot of free damage and the roaches look very lame. If they pop out as the roaches attack, then the roaches have a high chance of doing enough damage to buy time for the, you can get to hydras or infestors or whatever it is you want to get to. And if they pop out late, then obviously you might just die. There is another option, I suppose, where is to hold off on the mutas and just also max out on roaches. But obviously Bly will be later too as +1. Speedlings will always be something that's in favor of Bly. I mean, that's, sometimes totally okay for the Zerg player who didn't get speed, especially on a map with pretty easy bases like Proxima. But it's, something that in the mind or the hands of a really, really good speedling player can really make up for itself. I mean, it kind of already did, right? Bly got those leads early on. A little bit higher in the drone count, a little bit faster on that third base. But they can't really help out versus the roaches right now. 10 mutas are on the way, but the roaches are already in here. Roaches finally pop of Bly as well. Well, they're about to. 11 on the way. And mutas are, of course, free damage. One spine crawler finishes. If it at least buys time, then it might totally be worth it. And Zanster is not splitting up his roaches. They're also pretty clumped up. There's still other roaches to get through. Looks like Bly transfers his drones away, but unfortunately no more reinforcements. 16 drones in total have died, but if Bly holds from here on out, then I think that's acceptable losses. He's only down 10 workers. Okay, now a little bit more. Only down 10 workers. He even saved some of the drones who are building evolution chambers to stop further attacks, and the mutas will be able to pick up a couple of free roaches. Hydra's on the way, queens are on the way, a lot of spore crawlers are also on the way. I mean, this is pretty typical of this, of the two styles clashing against each other. But it is a question of who will prevail after it's all said and done. Zanster has +1, but Bly isn't too far off, and he does have the still somewhat free damage of the mutas, exactly. Once the roaches go off of away from the queens protecting them, and the Muta's just dealing a lot of damage to those glaive worms, and in fact pounces on those queens, so no anti-air anymore. Has +1 now, and Zanster might just be overwhelmed here. Bly has continually had a huge bank that he's still having trouble using. I guess maybe no queen at the, well, I guess, yeah, okay, no queen at the natural, there you go, something like that, right? This is why he's banking so much, but he's going even a little bit more into Mutas, realizing a chance to win here. He still sees no Hydralisk on the way, just queens popping out, and queens are decent initially, but they do have to start growing in that count. They can't be cut down continually, and they also need a couple of transfuses. So finally, 13 Hydras on the way as Zanster is able to deplete his bank. And 13 Hydras would just about cut it for the Mutas, of course, but there's this other problem that Bly is probably going to go back into Roaches really heavily, and you can definitely get too many Hydras. Yeah. Especially if you're not maxed out yet. You know, if your army is like 70, 80% Hydras because you're worried about the Mutas, and then their army suddenly becomes mostly Roaches, and Ravagers, or just Roaches, like, it can backfire. I guess Hydras have 10 more health, don't they? That was going to be weird to consider that. Anyways. Bly putting now, I would say, an odd emphasis on the Mutas. So the ones that he replaced earlier, because he lost a few to the, you know, the Queens and all that, like that, I can understand, because 12 is still a pretty good count to harass with. But now he goes up to 17, and that's, like, a little scary, I think, for Zanster once he sees that number grow, and he's like, wait a second, are you really going for Mutas, or what's happening here? He sees more, like, with that Overlord pop outs, and they're all cleaning up a lot of Overlords now. Yeah. Oddly annoying for Zanster, who is now supply blocked. His army really isn't all that much better. If positioning isn't on his side, if the Hydras get taken out one by one. But it is if it's all together. And yeah, these Mutas are trying desperately to pick off some of these Queens, at least burn the transfuses, maybe pick off a couple straggling Hydras. Anything that helps, but Zanster might just be able to get this 4th base killed. I mean, the rocks aren't broken down, and Bly was very hesitant to move in with his only Roach force, especially before his +2 had finished up, and Bly has managed to get an upgrade lead. Muta count's still pretty good at 14. They definitely can take out these Queens now. But Roaches and Ravagers have been made to have the high grounds. And I think Zanster, I don't know, it's like 20 supply up here. It's going to be a close one. +2 weapons versus a Roach Hydra composition. Not really any transfuses left. A couple of Corrosive Biles as well, but Hydra DPS might just be way better as Mutas aren't able to really help out here. But here they go now on top of those Hydras. If the Hydra taken care of, and he is going after them specifically, then the Roach is going to be cleaned up by the Mutas anyway. Zanster desperately trying to reinforce with more Hydras, but there's just not enough, I don't think. Very low numbers of Mutas now. If he could have at least like 5 Hydras pop out, then I think the Mutas die, and the Roaches might just be able to do enough damage to make this attack worthwhile. It might still be worthwhile, in fact. Like, I don't know, this might be back to like kind of an evening point. The Mutas aren't high enough that they're really killing the Roaches fast enough, but they're the reinforcements from Bly now, finally depleting that mineral bank that he had. And he does clean this up without taking economic losses. At least in the drone line, that is. He did lose the 4th base, but so did Zanster, so now they're replacing the 4th bases. Bly taking a normal one, Zanster taking the gold base again. He transfers over those spine crawlers to help out with the Roach force on the ground. Mutas once again being invested into. They do have +1 now. Back into controlling the map here. And as the game goes on, we might even see a handful of Lings being made to get those counterattacks on top of the outlying hatcheries. Wouldn't be a bad idea. +2 finishes up for Zanster, so equal upgrades on the ground once again, but the Mutas continue to be quite the pesky annoyance. I mean, once you have, you know, enough... once you have enough Hydras, basically, I think, or the threat of infestors and Hydras and Queens, the Muta count usually stops being invested into. In fact, usually even, you know, like in this game, I think a lot of other Zergs would have stopped investing into Mutas. But, no, not Bly. So, the fact that he does have, again, like 19, oh, 19, I was going to guess 14. 19 means that these bases are very vulnerable, in fact. Like, one Spore Crawler doesn't quite cut it. Yeah, tech structures could go down, drones could go down. They are, you know, again, okay at trying to snipe a couple of these units if they do try and move forward. Zanster's job really is usually to try and defend, and get to a maxed out good army of Roach, Hydra, and Fester, maybe a couple of Queens. But just the pace of this game has been so back and forth, so he's once again attacking without Infestors. He's attacking without a Hydraless Den, so if his Hydras die, the Mutas will once again clean up the Roaches. But Bly caught way back, and I guess that was on purpose, but not meeting in a concave is just going to try and defend his third base. If Zanster goes to the fourth, I guess that's a goner, but he might be backstabbed, so he doesn't really want to go for it. He doesn't even know it's there. Muta's in still a high count of 16 with +1. Gotta be careful with those Roach reinforcements. Roach Warren looks like it was, oh no, it was threatened to be picked off. I guess that's a good prediction to make another one here. A lot of Corrosive Biles trying to hit those Hydras specifically. Not doing such a great job of that, but the point is it's forcing the micro, and the Roaches and Ravagers are still getting those shots down. Once again, not too great, but just enough here. Bly takes a dominating supply lead. And that's finally going to be it for Zanster, I do believe. I mean, it's all started off with an early pool gas from Bly, which I think he did take more control over the game, so it's not too surprising to see him win here. But Zanster put up a hell of a fight. GG. Let's get into this game. It is a best of 5. Thank you for helping me. And in the bottom left, not too surprisingly, with an early pool once again, it is Bly. And he is up 1. In the bottom right, also with an early pool, very similar builds here, it is the Red Zerg Zanster. Ooh. Alright, so really identical builds here. Important things to pay attention to is, of course, the order of basically Lings and Queens, as it really did come down to the exact same build. And they're going for the exact same order of things. And then if anyone takes guys off of gas, which no one is, so it's going to be a Baneling follow-up for both people. Ooh. Maybe I shouldn't have been having a Coke. Got the carbonation all on my tummy. Anyways, so Baneling Nest kind of a little bit earlier for Bly. The answer a little bit messing up the build, I think, because he had enough for it. And while that's usually overly critical when you're going for the exact same build, that timing might be the difference. I don't think it'll be, but it might be. Big wraparound from Bly. Zanster, of course, wants to duck out of the Overlord as well, but he already, I think, saw, or is anticipating the Overlord to go through here. So point is, like, I mean, he takes the more direct path. So no one really knows quite yet what's happening. Bly just saw a Queen, though, so he knows that it's an earlier pool before Zanster does. And he does find a couple of Zanster's reinforcements. Both of their speed is going to finish up. That's one thing they still both don't know is, like, what exactly is following suit. Overlord does live, pretty important in this early game. Banelings are being morphed in kind of sneakily. I don't know if Zanster's going to notice, and even if he does, it might be too late to kill them. So 4 Lings, not too scary. Sees a lot of Lings pop out for Zanster, so I think it kind of confirms what is going to happen! Yeah, those shots could have been better, but that was still pretty damn good. That was still pretty damn good. Now they both know exactly what's going on. Banelings versus Banelings, Speedlings versus Speedlings. How do they decide to play this on out? I mean, Bly got a nice hit right there. Armor supply does dip down by for Zanster, but there's not a guarantee that Zanster won't get similar good hits. And Bly still has to be very on guard. The person that overdrones first or tries to go for a hatchery first might just be the one that dies. Zanster is the one that's looking for it. I'm not sure that it's really something that he wants to get quite yet. He does get a full scout in the main base. He sees, well, he sees Larva being unused, first of all. So he doesn't have to worry if it's Lings or drones, I guess. And he might just anticipate it being another hatchery for his opponent. But really, Bly just used the minerals to put into a couple more Banelings. I mean, 4 defensively seemed like overkill in the first place, so I would have been like a little worried they were going to go offensively. But there's actually 4 more on the offense. Looking for those hits. There's really not that many Speedlings to hit, to be honest. The ones from Bly aren't plentiful enough either. Looks like that one got a hit here. So he's going to go for those last-minute kills. Oh, second kills, I guess, actually, on the drones. Oh, my God. Gets 2. But Zanster had droned a little bit harder anyways, so Zanster's actually the one taking leads here. Baneling's trying to get a very, very clever follow-up, but there's no speedlings on the way for Zanster quite yet, just drones. And for Bly, looks like he dealt with whatever lings were running around. That isn't too surprising, considering he had banelings on the defense. But he has a much later hatchery, and he is down now 9 workers, so his attack has got to do something. He has banelings, he has lings, but Zanster has at least banelings and a couple of queens to help as well. I think it'd be worthwhile for him to trade 2 for 2, as he still has a lot of banelings. More from Bly are coming in, though, and he's got to be careful. He doesn't even have lings to really transfer into banelings, so if he ever finds himself without it, it could be the point where he dies. Baneling's gonna get an okay hits. If he can kill even 5 of these drones, that would do a world difference for bringing him back into this game. He gets 4, not too shabby, and that actually does it, as he was droning back at home. Zanster goes right back into droning. He has a little bit of a larva burst as well, as his hatchery is already done. Bly just goes for more lings. I mean, not too surprising. But his persistence, while sometimes it does pay off in games that you just wouldn't anticipate, it's a work. Also, sometimes it gets him behind. And this feels like maybe it's a game where it's going to get him a little bit behind. Looks like you kind of wanted to hide the banelings, maybe. Or just was microing, either way. Single Ling gets in here, sees the drones transfer the natural, and Zanster knows that, well, it wasn't really all that all in. I'm not sure you could tell that he has a lead necessarily from that. I guess his natural is more saturated than Bly's is. Makes sense, but I'm not sure if he noticed that. I'm going to give the pro gamer the credit and say that maybe he did. So you might think that he does have a lead. At least he knew that he had a faster natural, because his Ling had been scouting that natural for some time. Third base, though, is kind of like a tactic you see in all the other mirror matchups, I suppose, nowadays. I mean, TVT, I think, was the most famous for this kind of like, well, I one-based it for so long, then getting a faster third CC kind of made up for it. Because, you know, one base in TVT isn't nearly as cheesy or all-any as the other matchups. But then PvP has it sometimes as well, and kind of wincing here in ZvZ. Zanster does take it now, however, so not too far behind. Spire on the way for Bly. I mean, Bly is such a interesting character to watch. I mean, whether or not you think he has the best results lately or whatever, he's actually a really fun player. If you like Mutaling Bling, which I do, then he's one of the best guys to watch. ZvZ, he throws out that Spire commonly, and likes speedlings. I don't think I really see Bly, even back when almost everyone was going for speedless roach builds. I think even Bly was mixing in, you know, the speedling builds, going against the grain. And in TVZ, he was one of the guys to really first start experimenting again with 2-base Spire, which is still not popular, but, you know, kudos. So I wouldn't be surprised if Zanster is scouting specifically for this. I mean, you just know a Zerg player, a player like Bly, but it's also just a ZvZ where I think that's always going to be something on your mind. It's like at any point, a Spire could be what kills you if you don't anticipate it. Damn it. Okay, the Spire was scouted as it finished up, and Bly, well, Bly has this third base right here that might just have to be forfeit. That'd be some pretty good damage if Zanster gets that and is able to even leave. But, of course, that's the question. With 9 units on your back, you might not be able to leave. So Zanster's going to go for a Nidus Worm response to this. He's getting a couple more queens for those transfuses. And this might just be something that can actually end the game. Whereas otherwise, especially as he skips the third base, he wouldn't be able to end the game. He'd just be able to do maybe some crippling damage, but not even. Not even. Spineclaw had finished up. Couple of queens, couple of roaches, and just, you know, enough mutas against Zanster's small roach force to clean it up without any losses, and it is going to be cleaned up. I'm not sure Bly wants a super fast fourth. I think that might have been an anticipation of losing the third base, because I thought it was going to go down. But, yeah, okay, just move the drone over. Nidus Worm is something that I think that the muta player does have to worry about, but it's still not the super common response to it. You kind of have to have, like, that right scenario to even do it. So this is not going to be scouted. It is heard now, however. I like the idea I really like the idea to block the rocks. I mean, it's going to be broken, right, by Zanster immediately, but even buying this amount of time could be crucial. That doesn't really take a fight, though. Bly might want to abandon ship on the third base. I said that before, though, and he saved it. Or Zanster didn't bother killing it, I guess is the better way to put it, but... Okay, Bly is going to go for as many roaches as possible. There's the other Hail Mary move, which is try and go for as many mutas as possible, but no, he's getting mostly roaches here, but he sent his roaches across the map, so if he loses his third, then maybe at least Zanster would lose his. But a lot of roaches came back to defend this. They left the queens, they left the spore crawlers. So Zanster isn't transfusing. There we finally go. The hatchery is going to go down, but Bly just gave a lot of his roaches away without trading too many of them. Looks like it's not too bad in the army supply yet. Down only 10. And it's a little scary because Zanster also has that +1. Third base still lives. Maybe Bly should have just continued letting his drones mine there. He is up 8 drones. If he can hold this, he is in a very good position. If he holds it without letting his third die, he's in a very good position. If the third dies, then he's just in a good position. An okay one, yeah. Zanster is realizing that maybe this won't work. I mean, he only has 4 queens, so as good as this looks without a roach army, right here waiting, Zanster definitely has to be hesitant. But, 2 spore crawlers, a lot of transfuses, yeah, I think he can kill the third base at the very least. Bly was totally ready to give that up anyways. Tries to go for the spore crawler as it roots, but not going to happen. And Zanster continues to just now contain Bly, but maybe that earlier drone sneaks in the hatchery. You don't usually anticipate that, as usually overlords have spread around so much. You're going to see a drone wandering off in the middle of nowhere, but in this game, with the mutas having taken control, and Zanster just not spreading them that far, yeah, he won't even notice that third base has been taken. A Ling run by is a cool idea, but reinforcements do pop on both sides. He sees that a very nice number of Hydras pop too, and that's got to be scary for Bly, who is depending a lot on these mutas to try and at least control the game. I think a little bit longer. 13 is not that scary. 13 mutas to 12 Hydras. Yeah, Zanster's army definitely wins. He has a second Nidus Swarm as well, so those Hydras are already on the front lines. Bly, he has high ground, he has spine crawlers, he has corrosive biles. I mean, Zanster, if he's baited into an attack, he might lose it, and he kind of is. After all, he's only on 2 bases. The corrosive biles, they try and hit, I think, the Hydras and the Queens, but they miss. But still, the spine crawler is working against the roaches. Zanster has that +1, but he's running out of the roach defense here. And while the Queens are still alive, they're running out of transfuses, and the mutas are still alive too. He goes to the corrosive biles once again, always hard to dodge those things with queens. And 2 spine crawlers, a drone pool might just be able to do it. His mutas should be coming back home, or killing the Nidus Swarm, either way, but he's obviously controlling on the front lines. A lot more Hydras come in, but Bly reinforcing with a couple more roaches. It's still so close, but now his spine crawlers aren't part of the fight. Mutas are catching reinforcements, it looks like, so still doing some damage. Whoa, what the hell was that? This is super, super close. The spore crawlers are even repositioning. This is the time that the mutas would love to have come back home. Drones once again pulled. Bly has a third base, but he's losing that drone lead that he had. He might be losing too many drones in general, and this was such a close potential hold. If the mutas had come back earlier, I wonder if he would have done it. There wouldn't have been that extra Hydra reinforcement for some time, and he might just have been very, close enough. The spore claws wouldn't have rooted either. Now that they're here, I guess the one corrosive bile can take them out, one at a time. Queens don't have transfuses. The game is still undetermined. Bly down to 22 drones, Zanster at 35, but mind you, only on 1 base mining officially. Bly, I guess he doesn't have any drones to that third base, but he could make them. And that might be the really big difference. Bly with also enough minerals and gas to make a couple of Ravagers here, and even 5 or 6 Ravagers could be crucial. And Zanster's the one that just taps out. GG. Holy shit. Bly takes game number 2. Damn, that was a very close game. Very close. But that is game number 2 going in Bly's favor. He's up 2-0. Could be a 3-0. And try and squeeze in a quick break before game number 3 is ready. Welcome back. It is potentially the final game here, and, well, it really may be the final game. In the top left is the red Zerg. He is Zanster. In the bottom right, with another early pool and early gas, it is the blue Zerg Bly. Bly is not simply known for early pooling because it's cheese and it can win, auto-win games sometimes. Long before I think he had that, well, no, that's not necessarily true. He's always had a bit of a reputation for a lot of different things, I suppose. But I was going to say, in the beginning, a Legacy of the Void, it was just, you were going to early pool. Well, really, people were trying to go get away with 3 hatch or 4 pool, and then they realized that wasn't going to happen, so they went to just early pooling almost every single game. But Bly wasn't necessarily doing it because it got him free wins. It was because that Bly, being an aggressive guy, he likes being in control of the game. And that's a way that early pools would do it. So, well, usually, like these cheeses, these all-ins, you say, well, it didn't work, I guess you're screwed. Bly, being a persistent guy, sometimes makes them work, and then otherwise sometimes just has such tenacity that he comes back in a game anyways. So, and you see 3 early pools in a row, sure, that might just be him taking advantage of the fact that he's won both games with them, but it also might just be the fact that it's Bly, and this is just the way that he likes to play. Zanster did defend, or rather has a defensive setup with a pool first. Pool hatch gas, so he won't be able to get his own banelings anytime. Well, if he goes for banelings first, then that's fantastic. But, you know, if it's banelings first, then his speed's really delayed. If it's speed first, then his banelings are really delayed. And either way, you're either not going to be able to defend right here, right now, or you're not going to be able to defend well a little bit later on, or counterattack a little bit later on. These lings from Zanster were both trying to be sneaky in case Bly had gone for his own hatchery, or they're trying, I think, to find that Bly had gone for his own early pool. Unfortunately, they missed the lings over here, but the Overlord just ducked in to see no hatchery. So, of course, Zanster pulls back. He's going to try and find the banelings, but they're about to morph. Bly decides not to use them, even though he's going to have about 5. I thought he would. Okay, saves 3 of them. 1 very low. Already starting to heal up, though. 2 queens. Spine crawler in that main base. Almost done. Oh, the banelings are going for it. Oh, they're going for it. Okay, they get locked in by the queens. That was a pretty nice move by Zanster. That's why you put your pool like that. And the spine crawler did help out a little bit, but the drones are still very low on health. If those lings get in there, they're going to start one-shotting so many of them. The queens aren't blocking. He goes for the kills on the queens. I think he should just go for the... Well, I guess it is a tough decision to make. There's still a spine crawler in the main after all, and the drones are already gaining a little bit more health, so... Yeah, okay, I guess going for the queens was the right move. And that's a bit scary, though. You didn't kill the queens. You only killed 1, so Zanster already back up to 3. Almost 4. And they are getting that energy. Spine crawler moves forward. Zanster really did not take any economic damage. He was very close to it, but he didn't. Going for the big bust. 4 banelings come in. First one, not really the greatest shot at all. Second one, trying to find those lings, but what about that spine crawler? What about the queens? I think Zanster has got this on lockdown, even as Bly continues to reinforce. And this is where, if Bly's going to win, it's got to be through that just unbelievable persistence. Another baneling pretty well favored for Zanster. Now Zanster, as I was talking about, he doesn't have banelings, he doesn't have speed. He just, he went for the gas and he now has enough to get both, but he's, obviously busy. Plus he probably thinks he's already held. So if Bly had maybe not dedicated as much, the baneling swap on the spine crawler dies. Queen's about to die too, but there's no spine crawler, so this isn't gonna work. But yeah, if he had not gone for all the follow-ups that he did, maybe there's a way that he tries to play a macro game from this. But yeah, he really didn't do any damage. So that would be kind of out there. 0 drones killed. GG. Zanster finally holds and takes a game of his own. 2-1 now. The way that this cast is going to go is, once again, I'm going to cast the first 6 hours and then Rifkin the next 6. But also, we're not splitting up any groups today like we did yesterday, so anyone who's casting is casting the same thing. Although that might change in the future, but certainly for these first two groups, everyone's casting the same thing, so you have your choices. And then, there's another point to this. There's another point to this, but I don't remember where I was going with that. I really don't remember where I was going with that. Well, that roughly explains, I guess, the basics of what's happening today. It's also best of 5 throughout, and it is GSL group stage style. So there are 4 players in this group. Whoever wins this simply moves on to the winners match instead of the losers, but is not out of the fire yet. So it's honor grounds, and in the bottom right, changing colors on me. It's the red Zerg Bly. In the bottom left is the blue Zerg. It is Zanster. Oh, this might not be so great for Bly, though. We'll see what Zanster's build order is. Zanster went for a pull first last game. That gave him those queens earlier. It gave him the option to build a spine crawler earlier. And, of course, he did have lings, although they never turned into speedlings or banelings. It was still a pretty good defense. Kind of like quote-unquote gasless, because he did get the gas, he just never used it. This game he's going to go for both a pull and a gas, and then a hatchery later on, but now this is even better for him, I think. And then, on top of that, the reason that I said that it might be bad for Bly even before we saw the build order from Zanster was that Zanster's going to get the scout that I think that he would want, although Bly is going to see the Overlord too, so I guess it's not too bad. But yeah, they're going to know where each other are soon enough. Bly's first Overlord, I guess, determining now it's not to the northeast, top right. Still the option of top left, though. This'll be obvious soon. Yeah. A little bit of advance notice as the Overlord is going to be able to see reinforcements at the very least, so that's why this Overlord is nice, that it's like the first Overlord went this direction, as opposed to the second one. So it does see the lings, very nicely done. Bly knows where his opponent is, but Zanster sees like exactly what the build order is, which usually you want to hide those lings a little bit more. And Zanster already had a really good opener against this, so as long as he doesn't like foul up the micro here, then he should be in a very commanding position. He's already up 5 drones. That's kind of like 5 drones to lose, I suppose, where he has to worry. And even then, he has a hatchery up against his opponent. Zanster to go for the Baneling first. That is probably the safest way to do it. And then maybe later, add on that speed. Banelings are morphing in here. For Bly, Zanster still needs to wait a little bit longer. This is probably the most dangerous point in Zanster's defense. I'm not sure what the evolution chamber is for. It seems a little bit early to really be thinking about the future. So I wonder if it was like something of a block, but I'm pretty sure it's not. Whoa, that was weird. I didn't zoom in at all. That just transferred over! Jeez, oh no, well that might just be game. Oh, that's so game. Oh, that's so game. Just kidding, GG. I wonder if Zanster thought that wasn't Banelings. I thought his Overlord saw the Banelings morphing, though. Like, it was moving out, and then the Banelings were morphing, so... Well, not able to deal with the amount of Banelings that Bly got without his own, I guess. And Queen's unable to snipe any of them, or Lings, even. Unable to sacrifice themselves for it, so... Well, Zanster had what looked to be a good opener, and he responded as quickly as he could, and he mentally prepared himself as best as he could, too. Bly ends that game in, like, less than a second, it seemed, so... Bly, 3-1s, Zanster, and that'll take us into the next best of 5. That's going to be Gumiho versus Mana. I think that's still happening. But yeah, we have to set that up. Wait to see if they already did their vetoes, and we'll be back when it's ready.